afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Referee Show here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Baston, and I have several officials from around the Caribbean in our region. And I first want them to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into what's been happening around the region lately, how they have been handling the slow transition of in the region, fast transition back into action. Mr. Williams, do you want to first introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Quincy Williams from Trinidad and Tobago, referee. I've been refereeing for about 7 to 8 years. 25 years of age, and I was a member of the POR program and also the just concluded CFU under 15 boys and girls.
Okay. Mr. Basu?
Yes, I'm Chisley Basso, FIFA referee since 2015, but refereed a few years before, maybe about 10 years total now. I'm from St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm now a CONCACAF top referee, meaning they're looking up for. I'm also a teacher by profession.
Okay.
A high school teacher.
Okay. Good stuff. Mr. Nation?
My name is Oshin Nation from Jamaica. I've been a referee for about 8 years, FIFA referee for about 4 to 5 years. I'm a teacher by profession. A teacher, I'm in the high school system. I'm 30 years of age. I'm a tier 2 referee. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And Mr. Clark? You got to unmute, Mr. Clark.
Hi, good afternoon. Kevin Clark from Barbados. I basically would have been refereeing for about the last 8 years now. I've been on FIFA bit since 2018. Basically right now just focusing on my career, trying to put it right.
Okay. All right. Let me jump right into it. Mr. Basu, how has the return to play after this pandemic we've had that has kind of shook up the world, how has it affected you getting back into any type of football if you have already?
Well, for me personally, in my country, football has been stopped. So, in terms of practicing, perfecting the craft, that took a toll on me. But I'm somebody who would walk out. It doesn't matter the position. It doesn't matter the location. I'll find a way to keep working out. So I remain fit for this whole period. Even CONCACAF would always send some training program that you had to follow every single day. So apart from the actual technical part of refereeing, the fitness part was always there. Even though I'm not doing games in my country, because my country is about to restart the season probably in the next 2-3 weeks, I've been fit and ready for every time CONCACAF would call me to come and do a fitness test, be a part of the Gold Cup course, do a game as a referee. I was always ready for that. My only issue was at times going back to my country where I would have to quarantine. And that would take up a lot of my time, actually. But now it's actually just one day of quarantine because I'm vaccinated. So apart from that, it has been it's coming back. It's actually coming back. For me, I've been on all the different games and tournaments that they brought back since COVID, since this whole pandemic thing. And I was able to go out and come back and leave again and come back and leave. Like it was Like for me, it seem as if now they're trying to catch up on all the games them that they missed. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of going back. Like sometimes we would get home on Saturday and have to leave Sunday. Go back home on Saturday again and have to leave Sunday again. So that's how it's been for me. But it's in all, it's coming back and it has been going very well for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Williams? You've heard what Mr. Basu had to say. Has it been like that for you as well, or it's been a bit different?
Been totally different. The last game I would have done would have been August the 30th of this year.
Oh,
Things in Trinidad and Tobago, no league has started as yet. In fact, we are still under SOE. So things have been totally different to Mr. Basu.
oh. And Mr. Clark, how about Barbados?
Well, unfortunately, in Barbados, we haven't had any football in about just over 2 years, actually. So, like Basu said, in terms of maintaining your fitness, that kind of stuff, that was pretty much your kind of responsibility. And we were fortunate enough to have programs which were suited for indoors purposes, basically, during the COVID time. And as places started to open back up, you were able to exercise. Um, but yeah, Basu is also right in that it almost seems like they're trying to squeeze all the football that they missed into a short period of time. Because these footballs come in pretty quickly. Um, but it's been I'd like to say it's been a smooth transition back into having football. There's still a lot of restrictions as it pertains to the COVID and especially like, travel, because sometimes you have to leave a couple of days early to get to the game on time based on how the flights are arranged and that kind of stuff. So traveling in itself is a bit different um, post COVID compared to pre COVID, but otherwise than that, persons have done their best to try to make sure the referees are still in shape, and we've had all kinds of sessions to make sure that we were ready for when the football started back. So now it's just to make sure that we capitalize on what we would have learned.
Mm. And Mr. Nation, I know you've been back in action. So how has that transition been for you?
Initially it wasn't something easy because we know all the protocols that surrounds COVID-19. So getting acquainted with that, it was a challenge for me personally. Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so initially it was very challenging getting myself acquainted to the world protocols and everything like that. But having not had football over here and then going back out there was difficult in terms of my mental preparation. I mean, physical, we can do as much as we want as physical, but in terms of match sharpness or match fitness, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're not refereeing for a while, you're going to feel lackluster, or you're going to feel, there's going to be a lack of match sharpness or match readiness. So that was the greatest challenge for me. Apart from that, the more you go and you're appointed and you do more games, I mean, the transition becomes normal. For me, the amount of time that we have traveled, Basu, and others, I mean, the amount of football that we have done in such a short time, it's actually unbelievable. So it's really an opportunity for us too, because I mean, and a great privilege because many persons want to go out and they can't go because of different restrictions or whatever the case is. So I am grateful. We are grateful for the opportunity, and we just have to try and grab the opportunity, as we go along.
Mm. O'Shane said something, guys, that kind of piqued my interest because if you haven't been involved in something for quite some time, it can become a mental part of doing things as FIFA, CONCACAF get back into some normalcy. But how much of the mental part is CONCACAF and FIFA looking out for the officials as much as they're looking out for the players? Because obviously, if you're not active, there's a struggle. Anybody want to say that?
CONCACAF is always looking out for interest in
Mm-hmm.
terms of mental, because even during the pandemic there are always sessions, quizzes and like every week or every 2 weeks. So they're always looking out for interest in terms of ensuring that we're ready when play restart. Also, they even contributed to us financially because we didn't ref for a while,
Correct.
so they would send us a thing in our account, just to offset the cost of us not traveling for such a long time. So I mean, they did their best, and it is something that we definitely appreciate.
Buster, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I was hoping that he had mentioned the part where even FIFA and CONCACAF sent out a stipend just to keep us still, because if you're accustomed to be getting this amount of money, let's say you had plans for this money for this tournament, this game, like just before the COVID started, I was supposed to be going to Canada for 2 games, one between maybe Trinidad and Canada, and a next one, the same 2 teams it would have been, and all that got cancelled, and so many other games that I was preparing for got cancelled. So looking out for us, they did both FIFA and CONCACAF, and like he also mentioned, we every week, not even just CONCACAF, but even CFU had organized training sessions for us to be a part, look at old videos, even with the changes of the laws, they taught all of that also. So we were still abreast of what's going on, but like O'Shane mentioned, it's still different if you're not on the field and
Yeah.
refereeing game. In the end, it will always be different. But we
Right.
understand the situation, and it just took a few games to get back to where we were before. So I wouldn't say it was bad. We had to come from ground up, like we were still midway
Mm,
along the way. So it
mm.
worked out fine.
Uh, Williams, how much has the game changed since you started officiating? We have all these different rules now. We have the VAR at certain levels, but how much, in your eyes, has the game changed since you started officiating?
Well, I'll start.
No, I
I'll
was asking.
start.
I was asking.
Um, huh?
Well, I was asking Williams, but go ahead. You can
Oh,
you can
Williams.
answer.
Oh,
Then.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
no
didn't know you
worries.
said Williams. Go ahead, Williams.
He's beating you in another race.
Exactly.
God, lamo win one na basu.
take win.
You got a
Um,
head start.
Yeah.
I think yes, the game has been evolving over the years, and therefore, with the game evolving, there needs to be some changes in the laws of the game. Um, I always tell myself that there's something over the course of the year, there's something that probably will happen in the game that probably never happened before. So, yes, the changes has been coming to the laws of the game. But having said that, football understanding, most of the changes is just little tweaks they're making towards the changes of the law. So yes, it has been evolving, but at the same time, is not any big drastic changes to the laws of the game.
And Mr. Clark, what attracted you to be an official as opposed to a player?
Well, really, I had no interest in being an official at all, because I used to play football before. So officiating really wasn't on my mind. Only after a training session with the coach at my club, who also represented the country, he had a one-on-one conversation. He was asking me, um, at the present moment, what I thought were the realistic chances of Barbados making it to the World Cup final. So I was saying, at this kind of stage, it's not likely. And then he started to ask me, like, what do we think about the professional development in the country? And I told him that's not really, we're going to get there eventually, but we're not going to be there anytime soon. So then he started to talk to me about different roles that you can have around football, management, physiotherapist, coaching, whatever the case may be. And he told me that instead of just trying to focus on playing, I should start to think about longevity and, other stuff that I can do around football as opposed to just playing. And it just so happened that the week after we had that conversation, there was a referee course being held by the Football Association. So I was like, okay, well, this is something different. So let me just try to see what it's going to be like to be a referee. And, then I actually have a really turned back.
Good. And Basu, what about you? What turned you to the whistleblower as opposed to the goal scorer?
It's funny you ask because for me, my football career was short. I was I was a simple goalkeeper. I wasn't the best, and this one FIFA guy who used to be a goalkeeper also, he was like, Basso, where would you go? You're already, let's say 20, 24 years old or something like that. Where would you go goalkeeping right now? And then he was like, why don't you come to this rap course? This was the first time rap course came to my country, 2009. Why don't you come to this rap course? And he told me, when I come to this rap course, the first thing they're gonna do before I enter, they are going to give me a bag with all the football gears them I could think about. All like
They
a lot of
bribed you.
shirts, a lot of pants, a lot of socks, a book, like everything. Shoes, cleats, trainers. He told me just, and instantly I was like, I'll be there. And when I got to the course, just like he said it, before I even stepped inside the door, they were there with a bag waiting for me with my name on it and ready to go. So funny thing, I went to this course for the week, listened to everything, tried to take in as much, but after the course was finished, I did nothing. Nothing at all. So then the rap course would come every year. So they came back again and he told me it was coming again. And they said, okay, well, I'll be there. So I was there, and the same thing. They gave me all the clothes, everything, and my bag with everything. And it was Peter Prendergrass. He was like, Boss, when last you refereed a game in St. Kitts? I was like, I've never refereed a game in St. Kitts. He was like, what? And this is your second rap course, and you never referee a game? I was like, well, the guys never called me after the course was finished. I was being honest. They never called me. And it was like, okay, say no more. The same day, there was a game playing on the other side of where we were having the conference. He was like, you're going in the middle and you're going to referee this game. And he put me to referee a game that I have never refereed before. And when I refereed the game, there was this one player he's a national player. And because you think you had, when you're at that level, you feel as if, okay, you can talk as you like. Maybe he think I don't know the game, and he can rough me up. So in turn, I was the one doing the roughing up, and Peter was like, "Yo, I want you. You're gonna be a bad man referee. I want you to referee with me. I want you to take this thing serious." And then 2013, they sent me to Cayman Island. This is when they used to have like under 15 tryout. It was more tryout. So they sent me to Cayman Island. And I'm going to be honest, when I got there, I refereed maybe 2 games. And at the end of that, well, before that, we were taken to Cayman Island, nothing paid. I had to pay nothing. I didn't have to travel with my wallet. Nice hotel, buffet breakfast, buffet lunch, buffet dinner, and at the end of it, they paid us cash, like raw cash money. And I was like, everything, all of that, the life, it just opened my eyes and said, I need to take this thing serious. After that tournament, they told me that I need 1 more year for them to look at me. And 2014, they look at me, and then they put me on as a FIFA referee 2015, and that was it. I've never came off ever since 2015, and I ain't planning to until the next 10 years. Believe me, it's really a good life, and being out, going out to represent your country, and when you come back and you people telling you, oh, they saw you on the TV, or they saw you on Facebook, they'll be like, it's a good feeling. And as a teacher, because I'm a government teacher, they allow me to leave as national duty. So it works out with pay. So it
Right.
works out fine for me.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my life for the next 10 years,
Okay.
like I said.
Nation and Williams had a good been chuckling the whole time. So what did you think of that, Nation?
I mean, you probably need a show for him personally, you know? So he can give his autobiography and everything.
But he's got an interesting story. He has a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah, very long story.
He started out by saying he was a goalkeeper. You know, they take all the time. They use all 16 seconds. Only supposed to be 6 seconds. So they, you know.
I'm done.
But Nation, for you, how much has the game changed as well? Because obviously, the FIFA, CONCACAF, and CFU, they're always keeping you guys up to date with so many changes, giving you all the information, giving you all the tools needed. But when you started out, how much to date has the game changed?
I mean, the game is always evolving. I mean, what I do look forward to is a modification of the law on a yearly basis. You just know that something is going to change, but you don't know what. You know, so it's always interesting when the new changes comes out and you're going through the pieces and to get it correct or whatever the case is. So I'm always anticipating, looking forward to that because we have to stay relevant, and as referees have to be relevant and stay up to date with all the changes. So that is something I'm always looking forward to. And as usual, CONCACAF, like every year, you know, there's rap courses or there's CONCACAF courses. So those courses are designed to keep us abreast of the laws or different situations that we may encounter. As FIFA referees also, I mean, there's also a platform that we can go to access new materials, whether it be video or word form. So, you know, they're always providing information for us. If we don't evolve, it's probably we don't want to evolve as individuals. So I mean, you know, so it's all about, you know, staying relevant and staying up to date. And the game is always changing. Regarding pandemic and the changes though, the biggest changes is not having supporters. So to now have supporters, especially in World Cup qualifiers, etc., it's a beautiful feeling. It feels like the game, you know, has started again.
Right. I've got a question for each of you because everyone is different when you look at things and how you look at things and how you look at yourself. But I want you
I'll take
to
it first.
answer. Okay. Okay. How do you self-evaluate yourself after a game? Do you rely on someone telling you, or do you visualize moments in the game? How do you do it yourself?
I mean, I'm very critical. I'm very hard on myself. I mean, after a game, you can know that something went wrong or something was good. I mean, you don't have to wait on somebody to tell you. You can feel it. I mean, everybody have their own style or own experience, but I know when something is wrong, and it's not a nice feeling. I might not even sleep for the night or whatever the case is. So, I mean, it's not easy making mistakes as referees because it's not like we go on the field and intend to make a mistake. But what we have to understand and appreciate is that it's a part of the game, and it is what brings us from one point to another, not the experiences. We're going to have good experiences, we're going to have bad experiences. The bad ones is how we evolve and how we come back from those ones. Because those are designed, as I said, to move us from point A to point B. We'll never ever know everything, even the greatest or the best it happens to be best of all referees who make mistakes. But it's about learning, evolving, accepting, and moving on from that experience. So for me, I am critical on myself. I appreciate everybody's feedback, and I also self-evaluate because the truth is we all want to be better and we want to do better, and that is the whole aim of this referee thing, to be the best version of yourself, as an individual. So self-critical of myself, and I also appreciate others' feedback.
Sure. We're joined as well. But I'm going to go back to Mr. Williams. Can you answer that question? And eventually, OJ, we'll come to you. But I've asked the question: how do you self-evaluate, yourself after a game? How do you do it personally? So, Williams.
Yeah, I think O'Shane covered most. For me, it's just about being honest with yourself. I think once you're honest with yourself, then the assessment that or the evaluation that you're getting from assessors is just will be much easier for the assessors and the evaluation or the persons that evaluating the game, because to you will already know where you went wrong, and the assessors will come now and it's just give you tools in order to correct your errors, in order to be a better official on the day. It might be movement wise, it might be positioning wise, and these sort of things. So it's just about you being honest with yourself.
And Basu?
Yes, for me, both of them covered a lot that I want to say. But when you're inside the middle and you make a mistake, believe me, you're gonna say, shit, I got that wrong. Shit, I was in his way. I blocked him out. I blocked this player. Shit, I shouldn't be here. Sorry about but this
Yeah.
is how we
Okay.
do it. This is how it is in the game. Like, wow, I'm not supposed to be here. I need to move from here. So during the game itself, you're self-evaluating yourself, and you already know basically what to expect from the assessors. So I know some people will try to fight and come up with different reasons for not doing what they're supposed to do. But if you're honest with yourself, because you remember when you were in the game, you were like, I shouldn't be here. I just made a bad call, or you felt so bad. You try to ask the assistant referee if the call is correct, if what they think. So you already know what mistake you made, and a lot of times after the game, we can pull up our phones, look at the highlights, and see, boy, yes, I made a mistake. So you already prepare yourself to just accept it and move on, because we are humans. The players are on the field making 100 mistakes all the time, and nobody's complaining, blaming them. But
Right.
we referee who make one mistake, it's a pound of, like, it's too much.
Yeah.
So you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong, and you gotta be honest with yourself. Because without that, you'll find yourself making the same mistakes over and over and over. And mistakes come with experience. Because you could look at a referee and see him make a mistake, and you'll be like, I'll never make that mistake. I'll never let that happen to me. And when you're in the position and it happened to you, you don't even know what to do.
Right.
Okay, so when it do happen, then you know, okay, you can't allow this to happen again. But it comes with experience. Yeah.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, self-evaluation is really important. Most games that I do them twice because I actually do the game, and then after I finish the game, I probably sit and watch the entire game over again. Um, because it's a good way to see yourself and see what you do, and how you can improve on the things that you're doing. But it's really important to be honest with yourself, like the others were saying, because we're all human and we all make mistakes. Um, and that is something that's going to come with the experience of refereeing, making mistakes. But the more important thing is to pick yourself back up from the mistake, understand why the mistake was made. Um, for me personally, I normally there's probably a couple other persons that watch my game, and by the time I get off the field, they're messaging me or ready to have a call to discuss stuff that happened in the game, that kind of thing. So it's about having not just the opportunity to be honest with yourself about what you did in the game, but to have a good group of persons around you who will let you know what you're doing wrong if you're doing something wrong, and also being able to go back to the training field and correct the mistakes that you're able to make. But it always starts with being honest with yourself and taking away the points of improvement from your game.
Sure. And welcome, OJ. And how do you self-evaluate?
Thank you very much for having me, Earl.
No
I
problem.
would have listened to my colleagues, and we all utilize the very same methods. For me personally, so I know we're appealing to new referees who are maybe not experienced as us. So in that stage of the game, you're still learning. So it's always important to have an open mind, willing to learn. Always listen to the instructors. Sometimes they may say something which you may disagree with. It's always good to listen, even if you disagree. You can listen and you can go back and you can say, maybe he was wrong, but he said something which was right. We all do it as referees. Sometimes we say we disagree with the assessor after the fact, but we never show that in front of the assessor, which is an important part of it. But the more experienced you become, you learn the game, you know when you did something wrong. So in the game, Basu made it seem pretty by saying, "Oh, the S word," but sometimes it's different. The players in the
Yeah.
game will say, all of that moment.
Yeah.
So for me in the game, as Mr. Clark said, you have a group of people who always watch a game and they give you feedback to say, you had a good no call in the 70th minute, or you had, one which you should have leave alone in the 18th minute, or whatever may be the case. But for me personally, in the game, if I think I make a mistake or important or critical match incident in the game, I always try to make a note of the time and I go back to watch the clip if a clip is available. Of course, before watching the entire game, because I want to know what to expect before watching the entire game. So it's always important to rewatch a game if available and to see what you did wrong, how you look. Sometimes it's not really something wrong, but you wanted to look, you want to look more business-like, and you can say, oh, maybe I need, to not do this, to just, remain in position, to not try to fix my socks. Simple things like these are things that I do, to try and improve my image as a referee, because image is also important, not just
Sure.
correcting the mistakes. But in
Sure.
a game, when you make a mistake, you have to go back to training now and say, okay, I need to lateral more. I need to learn to transition from lateral to sprint faster. I need to learn to stop faster from going at 100% of my speed. So these are some things that I do along with what my colleague said.
Mm. Well, let me ask you, Mr. Clark, when your first international match, your call up, how did you feel? Were you nervous? Were you delighted? How did that? And do you remember that first one?
Yeah, I never forget my first international senior men's game. It was actually with Basu as the referee. The first ever Nations League game in CONCACAF.
I didn't
I
know
was
that.
sitting.
I,
Yeah, that
I,
was my
did, I, did, I
first
didn't know they put me
international
with a
game.
rookie.
I was actually sitting at work. I think it was a Monday, and I saw my phone ringing, and I saw a US based number. So I was wondering, like, why is a US number calling me? And it was actually it was one of the managers from CONCACAF, the referee manager. So
Hmm.
she was asking me if I'm available to do a game. So obviously I want a game because I was about 4 months into having my FIFA badge and I didn't do a senior game yet. So I was like, yeah, I'm available to do a game. So she was like, okay, no problem. The only problem is, you have to fly out 2 days later. That was the Monday. I had to fly out the Wednesday. I was actually like I said, I was at work and I was sitting there on the. I happened to have my boss next to me. I was like, well, this is a phone call and they want me to play on Wednesday. So she was like, it's really short notice, but don't lose out on the opportunity. And I guess I'm thankful in that regard that I have an employer who understands what it's like to have something to do with referee. Very thankful for that. And yeah, so I flew out the 2 days later and I went to Guadeloupe, first ever Nations League game for CONCACAF. And it was a point in time where CONCACAF was switching sponsors for the referee gear as well. So when I got there, I received gear that was not my size. So I'm a pretty small guy, and the clothes that we got were large. So it was just a funny game. But it was a game that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed working with Basu and Trevista, Mario. It was a really nice game. It was a really nice experience. It was a nervy experience because it was my first ever game, like I said. But I really enjoyed working with you guys.
Sure. William, do you remember your first one? And that call?
I didn't do any senior game yet, but my first international game would have been with OJ and Radix Ryan.
Okay.
That was under 17. What I can remember from the game, I remember after the game, Peter came to me and he was like, "Why were you playing with the ball?" This before we actually walk out, and I was like, "Playing with the ball?" I can't remember playing with the ball, and then who know Peter? He'll bring evidence, and
Right.
in a debrief, there's Quincy Williams playing with the ball before we walk out, which I think was just nerves,
Right.
which all referee have. From the game, in the game itself, I remember in like the 75th minute or somewhere around there, getting cramp and having to battle through the game with this cramp.
Oh boy.
And while in the game, Radix and H, were like, come on, Quincy, keep going. So the support was there, but having said that, the experience was a really tremendous one that I don't think I'll ever forget. So, yep.
Yeah. Basu, what about you? It hasn't been that long that you don't remember your first one, right?
I was there for that game also. I looked at him in that game. It was in Bradenton, Florida. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
Braden.
I'll go to my first FIFA game. It was when my folks CONCACAF big game, which is I was sent to Honduras for on the 17 championship. I only went as a reserve referee. This was my first year as a FIFA referee. Like if I became a FIFA referee February, by March they send me out to a championship. This is not normal. This is like putting me in the deep blue sea. And I went there, and it was for 3 weeks, and we've been training. Because I'm a reserve. I've been training. I had to train every day. But if you went there as a referee, you would train and then break, do your game and then break. But I was training. Didn't expect to get any game. And then I got a message that I'll be the referee for Mexico versus Haiti at 2:30 in Honduras, which is the hottest place in the whole world. Like at 2:30. So in that game, I was so nervous. In 5 minutes, in 5 minutes, when I looked up at the big board expecting to see 75 minutes, I only saw 5 minutes gone in the game. I was like, "That's it. I'm done. I had I had to fight. I had to fight for the next 85 minutes to complete a game. But all in all, it turned out well. There wasn't any major issue in the game, but there was so many mistakes I made in that game that I still have the videotape of it. I don't even want to delete it. I want to keep it there for forever because I made so many mistakes. When I look at it, I can't believe that was me back then. But it's good to know where you came from. And like I said before, when you personally make mistakes, not watch somebody and see them make a mistake and say you'll do better. When you personally make certain mistakes, then you know not to let this happen to you again. So that's what I hold by my heart.
Sure, sure. OJ, what about you? You remember your first one?
Yes, I remember clearly, and I think I've shared on the show already. I actually looked up on my phone just now. The first men international game I did was actually Bermuda versus Guyana, and the exact date was June 6, 2019. So I'd have done other tournaments, youth tournaments, female game, but that was my very first game in Bermuda. I remember clearly. I
Uh-huh.
wasn't so nervous, to be honest. I wasn't so nervous because the game wasn't, of course, what I would have learned later on that the game would have been faster, more challenges. Of course, Bermuda, they play pretty decent football. They don't play like Jamaicans, or they don't play like Central American teams where crazy things happen. The crowd wasn't so
Right.
big, crazy things happen. So that experience, it was good for me personally. Maybe it was slowly breaking me into what to expect in bigger games. After that, I would have done Costa Rica versus Uruguay. That would have been another international game I did in the very same year in Costa Rica. Uruguay is a big team. Costa Rica is a
Yes.
big team in CONCACAF. The stadium was full to capacity. It was raining before, and as a referee, sometimes you don't like when it rains before a game because you expect crazy things to happen. And trust me, that
Mm-hmm.
game I was nervous from minute one to the end. And funny enough, I had a perfect game in the sense that I did not impact the game where I called an offside which I shouldn't have called. The players were playing so fast, I really wanted the game to finish. The game started and the players were moving so fast, you're like, oh, you don't want to make any mistake. It's the first one. You don't want to mess up things and they say, oh, you won't go back on the list next year. So for me, it was nervous, but I enjoyed the moment. And I wish for moments like those again. Know that I'm more experienced. I want the game to be faster. I want to do games with the bigger guys, but it's a process. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of time until we get games of those quality again. The
Right,
people
right.
are
Well, let
playing.
me ask you guys as well. Let me ask you guys as well, and OJ, you could start it. What has been one incident, good, bad, or indifferent, that you have been involved in that you would never, ever, ever forget as an official?
Well, I had a game, I think, just before the pandemic. I had a club game, and I think it was in El Salvador. It's a club game, of course. I remember clearly that I think it was CD Marathon from El Salvador, I believe, if they're from El Salvador, versus Tigres from Mexico. If you know what happened in the FIFA Club World Cup recently, Tigres came second.
Mm,
In that game in El Salvador, Tigres scored a goal away, which was offside. And your gut feeling telling you offside, 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 but you say, oh shit, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm gonna leave alone.
that's who started it. That's who started.
Yeah, you say, oh, I'm gonna leave alone. And after the game, like throughout the remainder of the second half, I felt it in deep in my gut saying, hey, that one was wrong. That one was wrong.
Mm,
After the game, I saw the clip. I know it was wrong. That was the only mistake in the game. That's the only time I had a critic CMI, which would have impacted a game where a goal was scored from offside. And trust me, I couldn't sleep the night. I couldn't eat. Traveling home the next day, it was terrible. Believe me, when I went home, I was there. I was like, this is the end of it, because they always tell you if a team win from referee's fault, the most I can get in a game, as in the score, is 7.9. And 7.9
mm,
is not a good score. For me, it wasn't encouraging. I think I would have started to learn and to grow. But the more you expose, the higher you climb is the more you expose. And for
mm,
me, I won't ever forget that one moment. Whenever I'm doing a
mm,
game, I'm like, hey, just remember that game. Offside, you need to be 100% sure. You need to be in line. I was in line. I just froze in the moment and said, oh, I'm going to leave it alone. I will never forget
mm.
that one. That's one moment I'll never forget. I
Right.
have another experience as well in Guatemala. This was a club game, I think, with O'Shane and Jermaine and I think maybe Kevin Morrison, I believe. Comunicacion versus another team, two Central American teams. The goal at the National Stadium in Guatemala has a bar close to the front. So a Guatemala player, as in Comunicacion team, they kicked a shot and the ball hit the bar and came out. From where I was, I saw no goal, as in I did not see the ball cross the line. But I know the ball hit something inside the goal, and I decided, hey, I'm going to leave alone. This was first half. Comunicacion was down 1-0 at halftime. And the players came at me halftime saying, oh, it's a goal, it's a goal, it's a goal. I was nervous because, you know, even if it was a goal, it would have been so small I couldn't have seen with the naked eye. And I felt it for that entire remainder of the game. They came back and won the game. I felt that way, believe me. But when I think Parchment had a game there afterwards, and I told him, hey, go and check to see with that bar at the front if a ball hit. If a ball hit that bar, if it actually crossed the goal line, and he came back and told me no. So I had some sign of relief maybe a few weeks later.
Okay. All right.
I'll never forget those 2 moments. Those are 2 moments, no matter what happened, I'll never forget those 2 moments. Never.
All right. Yeah. Mr. Clark, what about you?
One incident that really sticks out for me. I did the under 20 championship in 2018. And I think it was my second game at the under 20 championship. I was doing the game, I was assistant referee one. And the game was a tough game. I think it was 2 Central American teams that were playing. It was a really tough game, a lot of tackles coming in, that kind of stuff. And the temperature of the game was rising all the time. And I think it was like 35 minutes into the first half. A player came in with a really reckless challenge and hit a player. And he went down on the ground, and the medic came on, and all of a sudden it was mass confrontation. Both teams going at one another. So I took off and in the field and in between players that trying to fight, trying to part everybody between myself and the referee. We're just trying to separate persons. For officials trying to keep the bench settled, all the players trying to get onto the field. You know, we're just trying to just keep everything under control. So eventually we get the 2 teams separated, and I'm getting ready to start the walk to come back off, and I can see the medic in front of me. And as I see the medic, I'm telling myself something isn't right. So then I'm starting to look around, and I can't find the player that's on the ground. So I'm telling the referee in the comm system, you know, don't start back the game yet, because I don't see the injured player. He's still on the field. He has to be on the field. So I'm trying to communicate with the full official to find out because I'm thinking it's number 11. That's the player that I last saw on the ground. So I'm asking the full official, was it number 11 that was on the ground? Where is he? He should be at the back. So the full official is telling me, I don't know where he is. I can't see him. I don't know where he is. And out of nowhere, I hear beep. So I'm standing at the halfway line. The defenders are by the penalty area, and the game is starting back. So I have to hustle to get back to the penalty area for when the free kick is taken. So now it's all this mad hustle because the official is still trying to find the injured player. I am trying to get back in line. The referee's restarting the game. You know, it was total pandemonium. This was just the first half. So we get into the dressing room because like I said, there were a lot of other challenges in that particular first half, really tough challenges. And I remember going back to the dressing room. And when we got to the dressing room, I remember hearing the door open, and there was a procession of assessors who were just not pleased with how the first half was going. They always remember sitting there and thinking to myself, like, this is probably the end of my career, because this is just like this has to be it. I can't be getting about my badge next year. If assessors, it's never a good sign if an assessor comes to our house. So for what, I think it was about 5 assessors that came in during that half. I was just like, no, this is it. I'm not gonna get another game. Like my career is just done. And it was just, I don't know, for that moment, for me, for that 15 minutes whistle to whistle, I was just like, it's over. Yeah, so for me, that's really an experience I hold on to though, because it showed me the importance of game control, not just from the aspect of monitoring challenges, but how everybody in the game plays in managing the game, and how important it is for communication between the entire referee team to be perfect. because if something goes wrong, it's not just the referee's fault, it's everybody, because everybody should be.
True.
So yeah, that's really an experience that I hold on to up to this day.
What about you, Basu?
It's never a good moment for the assessor to come down in the room at halftime. So that same game that I mentioned before, where I had Haiti versus Mexico, my assessor came down in the room at halftime, and that was it. I heard it all, and that was the worst. But on a better note for me, right after that game, I did as a fourth official a game in Canada. It was Canada versus Mexico national team. It was a World Cup qualifier. Like I said, I was only the fourth official. My country has in like 52,000 people, but at the stadium there were 54,000 people, and it was so surreal for me. Like I felt like this is where I belong, and I could always remember that moment with big players like Chicharito being there. And when after the game I got picked, like I'm standing in the line at the beginning of the game, and at the back you can see all these top players in pictures with me, and I'm like, this is where I need to be. Yeah, but that's about it.
Keep calling my friend.
Yeah.
Williams, what about you?
My experience where I would have feel like I want the ground to swallow me would have been a secondary school game, school football. I think was only a year and a couple of months of me officiating, and game was good until like the 85th, 84th minute wrong there. It just went into a mass confrontation. Right? And what I can remember from it, besides the red cards, was me not being able to write the report at the ground. So I had to leave. Actually, police had to come to escort us out of the
Stadium?
the stadium. So I remember coming home and was like, wow, these things happen. And the head of referees now in Trinidad, Mr. Ragu and Mr. Brizan, contacted me, and they were like, just stay focused, keep doing what you're doing, these things happen and so forth. So it was a first time for me, and up to this date, every time preparing a pre-match, the moment I reach confrontation, I always go back to that video, in the sense of I want to see when it started, because confrontation is something that don't just happen just like that. It happened before.
It's a build up,
So
yeah.
it's just to recap and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Well, we're going to be joined now by the head of referee in Bermuda, Mr. Cranston Williams. Mr. Williams, I want to thank you for getting these gentlemen to come on and share their message of officiating internationally. I don't know if you guys know, but Mr. Williams has got a special day tomorrow.
You would have to bring
Can
that
you
up.
hear me, Mr. Williams?
Yeah,
It's his birthday tomorrow.
I hear you.
Okay, all right. I just want your friends around the world to know it's your birthday tomorrow, Mr. Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. David. I'm not the topic of the show.
Huh?
I am not the topic of the show. He shares about refereeing excellence. That's not me. That's these gentlemen.
Well, you know, you already had a referee in excellence, so sometimes you gotta take this on the stage. But Mr. Williams, listening to these guys share their message, how do you think it actually helps the local officials and especially the young people coming through of the opportunities that these guys have had in their careers?
Well, for me, honestly, I think Basu's in the wrong profession because listening to him, he sounds like he would be a stand-up comedian. I mean, Basu, I need to come to Bermuda and run a seminar with the youth referees because your story, I've been watching all this time. You are a comedian. You just put it as it is. So I think I need to somehow get you here ASAP.
But
But
Nation
and
said he needs a show by himself. Nation
yeah, you
said
know,
he needs a show by himself.
I agree. I completely agree.
I mean, he really does. But for me, I must say, I messaged these guys as a comedy show, and it's just like they all responded right away. I do feel that yes, this will help our referees, and especially also Clancy because he just officiated for Mari, Stephen, Clinton, and Natasha at the under 14. So that's how I got his contacts. And to know that there's somebody like a young person to show him that hey, we did it, so you can do it. OJ has been here before, he knows, and Cavon has like almost got Bermuda citizenship, so it wasn't a matter of he couldn't say no. But all I say is, you know, you guys right now for me, Duddy stars of the ship. So just continue doing what you guys are doing. I have to send apologies for Radix and Parchment because something came up, but they said they'll join at a later date. But you guys are the standard bearers. And Bezin, what's funny, I have several pictures of a certain bassoon with Tashan. Didn't realize that's who it was. They've officiated several times together.
Well, before we started, there was some talk about a race, and Tashan's name came up. Tashan apparently won the race. That's what I heard in the end. But somebody owes somebody a rematch. I ain't gonna say who, but
well, we have to work on that.
The next rematch is gonna be in Bermuda.
I agree. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, gentlemen, I want
to. I'm sorry. I just want to say, you know, you guys, you as I was stating, you are the standard bearers, and for me, I wanted to see you guys as especially the Caribbean version of CONCACAF continue to soar. So keep doing what you guys are doing. That's all I have to say. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Well, gentlemen, again, as Mr. Williams has said, thank you very much. And be the standouts that you have been thus far and continue to rise and show that the Caribbean does have talent that could actually help football go to the heights that it's going to. Because a lot of times everyone looks at the countries and the players, but without people like you guys, international football, club football, local football, it doesn't go on because you just don't have the people of quality to actually officiate the game. So again, congratulations, job well done. Stay with it, stay strong, stay positive. And again, if having shows like this encourage someone else to pick up the whistle, then so be it. And I'm pretty sure somebody will relate to each one of your story as you've explained it here this evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay.
You too. Good night.
All right.
Happy birthday tomorrow to Mr. Williams.
Thank you very much.
All right. Enjoy.
Thank